All right, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Gwen and Damo show. We have a super special guest on the show today, a dear friend, true legend. We have Mr. Chuck Patterson. So thank you, Chuck, for being on the show today.
Super stoked, actually, to join you guys. It's awesome to. I just gotta put it out there. You guys have been doing amazing work out there, and I've known you for a long time, and Gwen, and it's it's very impressive. So very stoked to be here. Very honored, and yeah, let's do this.
Well,
All
I would
right.
say like Truck is amazing, and if you guys watching don't know Truck yet, one, go check out his social media, and two, get ready for this episode. This is gonna be really good.
Yeah. So a little background on Chuck. I want to kind of get into this. So I haven't known Chuck for a long, long time, but I've known him long enough to know that he's the type of person that you're going to show up at the beach and, he's a larger individual and he's jacked and he's literally like a gentle giant who will be so outgoing, so positive, so motivating. And I think Robbie Nash maybe said it the best. He's kind of like the Captain America of surfing or any water sports or any skiing sport. And I think actually Chuck is at the young year age of 50. I think, is that correct?
I'm actually older. I'm 52. Kind of scary.
Which, okay, and a little more history on Chuck. He's kind of known for riding jaws on water skis, but really he does it all. He skis, he kites, he wings, he foils. He does literally absolutely any sport, and he does it to a level that most people would love to dream to do. And so from my history with Chuck, we're really happy to have him on the show today because he has a very special personality that brings the best in anybody that's around him. And we're going to get a little deeper into it and see. We're going to pick Chuck's brain. So you ready to rock, Chuck?
Let's do this. Super stoked. Thank you, guys.
All right. So, well, first things first, because we got some awesome wing foilers that, obviously follow the channel and do this stuff. One thing I'd just love to ask that I think would be really good for people to know, because I think they'll value that, is your weight and then what you use for volume in a board for, call it, wing foiling and no wind, and just kind of maybe your setup. And the only reason I ask that is, a lot of people struggle with, that size and leader and so on. I'm just curious what works for you. So if you'd be so kind and let us know.
Yeah, so little detail for me, I'm about 215 pounds. And so when I started wing foiling, I kind of started with, more of a floaty board, which was around a 110. But as I learned more about the sport and obviously watching, the younger guys like yourselves charging, I really gravitated towards using a lesser volume board. So I went to a Nash Hubbard 95 liter board, which was kind of on the tipping point of, not super stable, but I started to figure out how to get up real quick and easy and then get going. And that was kind of my go-to board all the time. And that's kind of like if it's light or if it's even when it's windy. But the more I got into it now, I like riding a 60 liter board, which is something that I have to completely sink underneath me, throw my feet in the foot straps. And I definitely need some solid wind with that. But I'm getting better now as the technology, all the equipment is getting better. We have some new wings, the Matador, which is like a 5 meter that I equate that to close to a 6 meter, but it has a great range. So, I'm still learning a lot, but I've found that, like as in kiting and in windsurfing, I always loved riding overpowered. So I think a lot of us can, agree to that. It's nice to have a little bit more power. And for me, being a bigger guy, I really enjoy having a lot more wind than not so much. And when it's going off, my go-to is a 60 liter board and like a 5 meter Matador, which I can probably roll out in solid. For me, I could probably squeeze it out in 15, but I like to kind of really get going at around 18. and then on up. And I've taken that 5 meter all the way up to like 35, not totally by choice, but it works insane. So that's kind of my go-to right now. And I'm still learning a lot. I've used a lot smaller boards, but I found that I need a little bit more rail and surface area for when I'm learning tricks or landing, and just doing downwind runs. I just like to have a little wider foot stance. So that's what works for me.
What about foil size? And are you like more of a high aspect foil
Yeah,
guy?
so the foil size for me, I kind of, now that the high aspect, there was a big push with all those, and so I ride a high aspect foil. For me, I started with an 1800, which it's, and I'm still kind of sometimes confused. I'm sure a lot of the listeners and athletes out there that are getting into it as well. It's with the numbers and how it works. Everybody's a little bit different. So for Nash, I've used for the light wind days in 1800. And then I went down. My favorite is using a, what is it? A 1400. And that's kind of my go-to where I can ride it in anything. So when it's light, I can still squeeze it out pretty good. And that's been my favorite. So if I were to pick one foil, that front foil, and then I've been playing around with the shorter fuselage, which I really love in riding waves and even, doing downwind runs with. I haven't noticed too much of a difference as far as when you're doing takeoffs, for big airs and stuff like that. But I still feel that, as I learn more and more, the longer fuselage to me is still kind of a little bit better than the shorter, if I'm doing airs and stuff. So, and then I've used a 220 tail, which works great, along with my go-to is an 85 centimeter mast. I've tried longer, but for some reason maybe I need to ride it a little bit more. I just don't feel like I'm totally in tune with it, so the 85 is a lot easier. I've seen a lot of people riding way longer and they're killing it. So I have the equipment. I'm just going step by step and going through it.
Well, I mean, that's super. You know what you nailed on that I really love, Chuck, and we lost Gwen, but he'll be back in a second here. He must have had bad connection. But what I love is that you said my big board was this, 110, and then you went down to a 95, and I admire that, because a lot of people actually go 110 to like instantly 60 and struggle forever.
Yeah,
Because it's a huge jump. So I think, I really like that you had, you said that instead of jumping from drastic jumps, I think, work your way down, I think is a really smart thing to do. And I think that's awesome, because I'm sure you did that too. You probably tested it and was like, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Maybe I jumped too big here, which we all did for sure.
Yeah, I mean, having the shorter, like what I ride in the surf all the time is like a little 4.6.
Yeah.
And so I had one of those, and obviously with equipment and all that, we try to get everything dialed. And so I put some foot straps on that, and I actually had a great day at the gorge, and it was smoking wind, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to try it. I made it work. It was great. I just felt that there was a lot of times where I'd land sometimes too nose heavy, and I couldn't slap and then come back up because of all my weight. And I would just submarine and eat it. And it would drive me nuts, and then so I'd go back to the 95, and then I'm like, oh, well, I still need something shorter, swing weight, all that. I can make it work, but it's not fun. And you've got all these kids and ripping around on their little, 4-foot boards, and just, the flyweight is simple. So for me, I went back and forth. And then finally I found that the 60 meter was a great in between. And I could still play with a short one if I wanted, no problem. But the 60 made it to where I got more riding time when it came to doing big airs or spins or something like that. I could still land, even flatten out, and then come back up on foil. So the 95 is still great to have, and as a quiver, but I still gravitate more towards the 60. And I think the more I learn, the shorter is a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think we're all learning, and I think, that's the future. And I'm not saying it's exactly what everybody's going to do, but I think there's a ratio leader wise for everybody, or each individual weight wise, that will be you kind of almost want the most leader you can possibly get to have it be able to either, whether you're kneeling it or sinking it, but where it's really easy for it to come up, because if the most you can put underneath you, then when you do your jumps or crashes or whatever, it's instant easy to get up and go, versus if it's really a sinker and the winds lull out, you're just chilling out for a long time until the winds come back. So it's like, definitely, I think that'll be the direction. But I really appreciate that. We just want to tap on that for our, larger riders out there, which we know there's just so many people out there that are looking to get into the sport. And you've got to look at Chuck's profile and see what he's done, because he is literally like, I mean, when we were both GoPro athletes, and I think you're still a GoPro athlete, but I remember going to events with you, and I would just be blown away of what Chuck could do in his size, on small waves, on anything. And I was always like, just shocked. I mean, you're absolutely skilled for sure, but I was always just blown away by that. And so tapping on that, I was lucky enough to spend some time with you and have some incredible memories with you. And literally everything I look back on, I just laugh, because it's literally, that's what you do. That is what you share. And I'd love to ask you this question, because, it's kind of a personal one, but I'd say, what gives your life meaning, Chuck? And what would you share with somebody that is like, what is the meaning of your life, and what would you love to share to others?
Well, the refreshing thing for me is I'm still learning what that is. I think for me, at the beginning, when I was, growing up, I gravitated towards sports because it allowed me to express myself without rules, so to speak. And it was something that I truly loved. And I think from there, I really learned what passion meant, and it didn't seem like work. So for me, sports really kind of was the gateway for me to kind of just open up and really figure out who I was. And then from there, I think things just escalated, and my parents definitely played a great role in that. And then for me, I growing up kind of in the Bay Area, inland, so to speak, I wasn't a water person. I was a snow person. So sports were definitely in our background, but my mom was a pro windsurfer, and so that allowed me to kind of venture to the water side. But I was kind of a late bloomer, so to speak, and windsurfed way earlier than I surfed, and then got into all that. And so as things started to roll out, I started to kind of come into my own and figure out what I really loved. And I never turned from that. I had, my dad was a nuclear physicist, and a lot of his friends at dinner would always go, "So what are you going to do, son? You're going to go to school and, do this, do physics." And I kind of didn't know how to answer it, but I knew what I loved. And I said, I really want to do sports, and I'm not sure how it's going to work. And they always played it off like, "Don't waste your time. It's not good. And you need to get a college education and whatever." And so both my parents were awesome, but my mom really kind of, opened the door like, "Hey, I'm going to take you out of school. We're going to windsurf practice, on Friday." And I just really gravitated towards that. And I wasn't really like doing these sports at school, like baseball or track or anything like that. So for me, that was like what I really enjoyed. And so I'm sure I'm rambling a little bit, but as I grew up, the more I did all different sports, I started to come to figure out that I've been very lucky to kind of get into all these sports at kind of the proper time. I think timing for me was very lucky. So like have it be kite surfing, and kiteboarding and all that, and being in Maui at the same time when the boys were just getting it dialed, like Lou Weinman and Elliot and Mauricio, and and got to meet Robbie, and then obviously you. And so it was just neat. And then everything escalated, each sport complemented the next, and I think skiing for me was an incredible baseline to start with, a great foundation. And then going into surf, windsurf, the wind sports, and then obviously doing big wave stuff, it all seemed to have some kind of similarity. And just rolling into that, it's just kind of paved the way. And then I got to learn more about, how am I going to make money to be able to do this all the time? And then, obviously I was bartending and working all these odd jobs, did construction, build homes, the whole nine, just to get my water time and snow time, and then learned how to figure that out with sponsorship and endorsements, and trying to, you know, squeeze every little dollar out just to roll that passion. And then I'd say for right now, for me, going to your question, trying to answer it, is I just want to share my experience with those that don't get to do what we're all very blessed to do, and let them know that if you really love something, go for it. I mean, I think we're in a new age right now where a lot of people are really kind of able to be entrepreneurs, be more about the environment. I think a lot more people are cognizant of what's going on. So that's a breath of fresh air. And just being able to help people. I mean, I want people to always have a smile on their face. It's not about the money, it's about the lifestyle. And I get a lot about, or out of, like, helping people, you know, enjoy, you know, the simple things in life. And yeah, obviously the things that we're all doing in sports is maybe at a higher level. But for me, I enjoy going out with the pro athlete, and getting very inspired, as much as I love going out with a person that's never done it before and introducing them to it, because I learned something from them as well. So it keeps me pretty humble. And running with the younger crew like Kai Lenny, even you guys, you know, and then also with guys like Dave Kalama, Robbie Nash, Pete Cabrina, it's just a great mix. So there's just an overwhelming mix of so much stoke, business sense, sports, camaraderie, that it's just almost overwhelming. So I've been trying to just hold on to that through everything I've done, and it just gets better and better. But the one thing I never change is holding true to passion and trying to put a smile on everybody's face, because at the end of the day, that's all we got. And if we're happy, that's, you know, that's, for me, has always been a great thing.
And to all our listeners out there, let me tell you what, when you just get near Chuck, the smile begins, and everything you do, you'll be laughing and having the funniest time with this individual. And what is that, Chuck? Like, what makes you, like, do you have bad days, or do you just always look at things differently? Or
maybe I should ask Trish that. Of course, I have a no, totally. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all truly human, and I'm, you know, I'm truly, I think, just blessed with what I've had. You know, the upbringing that I've had, and all the different sports and stuff that have really kind of allowed me to kind of have a great lifestyle and a great direction in sports. But like anything, we're competitive, and that also goes into business and whatnot. And everybody, I mean, including myself, definitely has bad days, and times where we snap, and, you know, and we try not to show it out there, because, you know, we're you know, trying to just put a good foot forward and keep everything but happy. But yeah, there's times where things get really tough, or you're just competitive, or I'm super stubborn over things, you know, where
you're normal.
Yeah. I'm normal, but I'm sure sometimes it goes to one extreme, and then I got to bring it back. But I think at the end of the day, looking at, if I can stay active or be outside, even if it be for an hour doing something, I think that's what keeps me stoked. If I'm stuck in a corner or inside, or not able to really kind of let it run, so to speak, or be around people, then yeah, I kind of get a little bit bummed out. And I think that's like a mental thing. So obviously with my new move to Vermont, it's been a life change, and this was just something to kind of kickstart and kind of get me re-inspired. You know, I'm not changing everything that I've done, but I'm just putting a different foot forward. So that's been a very scary.
So you're going pro in ice skating? I'm going to interrupt. Ice skating is your new thing? Is that what it is?
Please don't put that in my head right now. Yeah, who knows? You never know. I mean, that with winging, I mean,
I know. I can see it. You're doing like ballerina stuff with the wing on the ice. I love it, dude. Wait till that video drops.
So, Chuck, I have a question. Like, I'm sure, like, along the way, there was like many, like, I don't know, maybe like key moments in your life, in your career, where you had to make a choice that was maybe like, I don't know, very difficult. I don't know, maybe it was like about something that would totally change your journey, maybe going back to something a bit more traditional. Like, did you run into any of this like hard like decision to make, and how did you make decision, or what was the driving what drove you to make that decision?
That's a great question. I mean, I have definitely many, and I've looked back at them trying to kind of go, well, like the basically the why in the road. Had I gone left, how would life have been if I gone right? So that was like school was kind of a big thing at the beginning, and my dad being a physicist and very in the UC system and stuff, school is very important. But then my mother, also being, in physics and really big with school, she was just a go-getter, and she really had a great balance. Like sports was huge for her. So she would, go and travel and do the windsurfing. And then she was also a big time ski racer in Austria. So she had that balance where I really gravitated towards that. So there was a time where, I was to go to school, and before that all started, with college, I got an amazing opportunity to ride for Fanatic and ART Sales for windsurfing and travel the US with a truck, and be able to, go and windsurf and travel the whole US, kind of like what you guys did, Gwen, and all that, and hit every coastal city and whatever, and be able to teach windsurfing, and then we would race and compete and this and that. So I got this opportunity, but I was petrified to tell my dad just before school started that that's what my plan was. And so I kind of, everything was so rushed, but I had huge respect for my parents, and my dad was, just an awesome person, but a strict disciplinarian. So for me, it was like really important to, if I didn't have all the answers when I approached him, it was a waste of time, because, I truly agree. It's like, if you don't have it together, then you don't really know what you want to do. And so I kind of waited just before school started and everything, and, a couple of weeks, and I basically, approached him, and I was super scared. And I said, Dad, I got, something to tell you, and I have strong feelings for this, and I've been waiting. It's been kind of a life dream that I didn't think would come true. And I said, I have this opportunity to travel and kind of push my windsurfing and compete and share, these experiences. And I really want to do that. And I know school is very important. And he looked at me and he was like, why did it take you so long to approach me? He knew about this whole thing a while ago. And so having that acceptance, his big thing was like, hey, if you go this way, put in 150%, or it's a complete waste of your time. So if you're, solidly sure to go for it, then go for it. And I wanted nothing more than to be able to open that new, adventure and go for it. And so that was a great thing for me to kind of really go that route. And then that's what kind of really spearheaded opening the door for figuring out sponsorships, being able to travel the whole, US by myself, in a huge, commercial truck. And I just learned, I think, more there than I could have ever learned in school, and about the people, the East Coast, the Gulf Coast, Midwest, the West Coast. I mean, I really got to see things that really kind of just, kind of helped shape who I am. And that was one thing. So looking back, if I went and did the school thing, I think sports would have been a little bit lower on the totem pole. And unless I was doing like a scholarship thing, but I would have had to go 150% that way. And who knows, maybe I'd be a scientist, or I'd have a Learjet and I'd be still traveling, doing my thing. But I think honestly, no regrets. Doing that was a huge life change. And I think would have altered, I would have gone two totally opposite directions, and now I'm here at another, crossroads, so to speak, and, living in California, growing up there and spending a lot of time in Maui and being in the water every day. And then now we're in Vermont, chasing some new, business ideas, and just kind of seeing what's there is a new thing that we decided just to go for it. And a lot of learning, very emotional. I didn't realize how much I miss, being in the saltwater and surf. So that being said, it kind of allows me to put my head down and really figure out what I'm going to do. But the neat thing is I'm able to venture off to Puerto Rico or something like that and really put in, 100% of time instead of just chilling, at the beach. And I'm like, all right, when's the wind going? Okay, we've got surf, this and that. So I'm a little bit more on it to try to get the goods without just, relaxing and thinking.
Camping out on the beach.
Yeah.
Forever.
Totally.
So it seems like you make decision really like based on what's like on how you feel,
Yeah.
more than maybe outside pressure. And this is it seems like it's like a journey that never ends, about like figuring out who you are, and it's almost like there is not a clear answer, because it always changes. Like today you are still in that process. Is that how it is?
Exactly. No, you're totally right. And for me, let's say, I'm 52 years old. So for some, that's ancient. But it all really goes to how you feel. Like I train every day. And for now, it's like it's that learning process. When you're my age, to learn something and continue to kind of get the mind and the emotions going, where you kind of freak out a little bit and you have to kind of bring it all in and go, okay, we got this, to have a great partner by your side. All these little things really kind of help in the journey. And I think as long as you have that attitude of like, let's just go for it, which I did with sports, and I didn't realize how that would kind of change my life and become my life. And now it's a different journey. There's a lot of risk. So if you don't risk anything, then it maybe isn't all that great, or you won't understand the importance, how awesome that is. So it's funny to have people go, oh yeah, there was so much risk for you to be, in sports and surfing and, big waves and doing mountains in Austria and skiing everywhere. But there's a lot of risk that goes along with that. Like I had to work days and nights doing some jobs that I didn't like, and to get to, where I am. And then now there's that risk where I've kind of, we've moved away from what I know, what I truly love, and that's the ocean, to the East Coast, and to try something totally new. But the neat thing is there's a lot of ups and downs, but from the lifestyle that I've had, I've learned a lot about like, okay, we just got to go for it. And if you got the right people around you, if you got great opportunities, shoot for the mountains, because you never know. And that's the neat thing about it. You never know what's there unless you go for it. And that's been my kind of life motto. And I've been very lucky. And our days, when we're doing stuff, when we have a bad day, may not even be close to what a lot of people's bad days are. But there's a lot of risk and stuff that's behind that we all go through that no one really kind of shares and knows about. But the neat thing is I love to kind of keep my head up, because I've got a lot of people that I enjoy being around, and I feel that I've got a good audience of younger kids that I can inspire.
Yeah, I look up to you.
And it
100%.
and I look up to you guys. I mean, so for me, it's a really great journey to be inspired by the ones before me, and the young guys like you that are always pushing it. Because for me, age is just a number. I still have it in my mind that I still want to charge big waves. I still want to learn new tricks. I don't want to get hurt. That's the only thing that changes, but that's why we train a lot, and we try to be in that environment all the time. So it's not suddenly like you go off the couch and send a 60-footer, or, do a, 720 on the wing and just pack it, with your face in the foil.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think that's an important thing, especially for, life is an adventure. So if you kind of are hesitant, I don't think you're truly going to get everything out of life unless you just go all in and just put your feet at the edge and just go for it.
Yeah, I feel like what you have is to be able to do this, you trust that, yes, there is a risk, and yes, it might not work out, but you trust that you will figure it out if it doesn't work out, right? Like this is a very
Exactly.
important thing to like for people to be able to like take a risk is, it's not the end of the world if
If
it
it
doesn't
fails,
work
it's
out.
okay.
You
Yeah,
you will,
it's totally fine.
it's just gonna put you on a different
Path.
journey. But the most
Yeah.
important thing is, how do you feel? And if this is like really what you want to do, then do it, and there no pressure. Like if it doesn't work out, it will be positive because it's gonna bring you, maybe it was like, oh, I really want to do that, and then you go for it, you don't achieve that, but on the way you find out actually that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something else. So
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
um
you're right. You bring in a great point. And I think we all really can go by that. Is I am a very visual person, so when I was learning different sports, um, I hated when someone told me how to do things or like you need to read instructions or whatever. I always loved watching the people that I wanted to emulate. And it would take me a little bit longer, but I learned from my mistakes, whether that be taking some hard spills on the mountain, whether I just got the wrong equipment, whether I went out, in the worst conditions or whatever, but I found that that only made me stronger. So I learned and I continue to learn from my failures. Like if I were to do everything cookie cutter and buy the book where everybody says, hey, do this so you won't get hurt or so you won't lose any money here or, you'll get the best conditions. It actually, life would be pretty boring. So I feel it's awesome and it adds excitement to kind of test yourself and continue to test yourself to go, hey, you know what? I don't know if, like with conditions, I don't know if this surf forecast is going to be, give us the, 50-foot waves that we want. The nice thing is that I've learned so many different sports that if something doesn't go, well with plan A, I've got a plan B, I've got a plan C, I've got a plan D. And I'm still going to have a good time. And I think a lot of people, I've been around people that, they put all their eggs in one basket and they're super stoked on like, all right, dude, we're going on this trip. The swell's awesome. And then the minute something's out of place or the swell's not right, or the conditions are, gone bad and there's nothing, they flip out and they're a whole different person that you don't even want to be around. And for me, I kind of was always trying to look at like, hey, it's not, for me, it's been a, a lesson of like people going, dude, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. And I kind of was like, well, it's always in the back of my mind, but make the best of what's there because you can't control it. And you can't really, if you can't control something, don't waste a ton of time worrying about it because that's just how things are. And then who knows, it opens up a whole nother door. Just like you said, if I went for something and I'm like, I don't know if it's going to work, whatever, but I really want to do that. And then suddenly I'm like, yeah, that sucked. But I got to meet a great person that introduced me to something else. Or I decided to try this weird sport called kiting and I thought it looked weird. And then suddenly I go, wow, I really love it. So, we're always, I think it's really important to always learn new things. And even if it's a little bit weird or takes us out of our comfort zone, I think that's what truly makes life worth living because you're always doing something different. And I think it's great for the body and the mind to kind of be challenged all the time. So it's like, it didn't work, fix it, or move past this and do something different.
You know what? Give me 1 second. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
gonna say this is classic, but you said something so awesome, Chuck, and I just want to hit on it because I think it's super valuable to people. You said you can't, don't stress over the things you can't control. And I'm gonna give an analogy from a friend of mine, Patrick Rinn, who I used to travel, which you travel. You're gonna laugh at this. We travel all the time on the airlines, and you bring all these bags, and you're only allowed 70 pounds or whatever, and it's got to be this dimension and this. Dude, I would stress before every trip, and literally like could throw my back out. I could like lose relationships. I mean, I would just lose it
Yeah.
because I was like, it's got to be perfect, got to be this, or else I'm going to charge like $200 or whatever it is. And like I look back now, I'm like, whatever, I would pay for it. But the reality is that was something that truly I couldn't even control because,
Yeah.
you know, American Airlines may be this or Continental or whatever they were all different, right? But even if they were, you knew it was 200, sometimes it'd be like 400, or you're going to Europe and they're like $2,000 or whatever it is. And so I just want to nail on that because I think that's so good that you said that. It's like, you know, sometimes just don't stress over the things that you truly cannot control. There's certain things you can control and certain things you can't. Like you said, forecast or swell. It's like, and that's what I totally know about you is like the biggest swell is coming and it literally be like ankle high and you'll be out there with like a little handboard, like riding the wave in the barrel, like we're like a little squirrels in there, you know, like that is what you shine, and you shine to so many people out there and you share that along the way. And I think, you know, a lot of people in life are so scared to even just like make the best of it, or they hold that expectation of like, oh, the swell's coming, didn't come, okay, life's over, I'm like gonna just go hate myself for whatever, you know. And it's like, well, you can't control it, so you know why.
But it's a tough lesson to learn, because I equate it to some of my friends in school that, you know, went to school, did everything by the book, you know, and obviously did stuff that they love, and they're making millions. And then they have like a couple weeks to take the family out, and it's the most stressful time in their lives, and everything goes wrong every time. And I look at it like, how many times have we shown up to the airport with a ton of stuff, or we've spent all night long trying to pack stuff and make sure it weighs everything, and then you're kind of going, oh, maybe I should bring that. Oh, maybe I should bring this. And then suddenly you're all, I can't bring 7 bags, you know, and now I'm looking at my travel budget, or I don't even know if I can afford it. And then you get there and you stress out. And then for some weird reason, it majority of the time always works out. Either, you know, either you pay through the nose, or another time someone takes a liking to you and go, oh, you know what? You got a great smile. Don't worry about it. I'll just put it away and let me put you in business class. And you're like, and so there are all these things that kind of happen like that are really cool life surprises that we try to have everything so perfect. And majority of the time, it's never going to be perfect. So if you can just set yourself up with like, hey, let's just go for it. I've always been a last minute person, which for a lot of people doesn't work. And I'm learning more and more, you do have to plan for certain things, you know, to obviously be ready for it. But a lot of times when we're on the go, and I mean, we have our, you know, obligations to our sponsors. We're like, hey, we have to be here during this date. But there's a lot of times when we're all like, hey, let's go chase some wind, or let's get some great conditions here, or hey, there's, you know, good snow or whatever, we go for it. And if you worried so much about that, the conditions and everything had to be perfect, or do I have enough money, my money in the wallet to make it happen? I think it just, you know, changes everything, and suddenly you're not having fun from the get-go. So you might as well just go for it. And it's almost like a little lottery of like, let's see what happens. And a lot of times you end up having a blast, you know. And I think for me, I've been very fortunate, because I've had a lot of times where it didn't work out, and then the next time it worked out way better than I could imagine. So
I think, you know, your special, you know, trait is you can make the best out of everything. And I think everybody should take a little look at their life and say, hey, you know, can I make the best out of any situation, sports, work, business, family, you name it? Because I think there's a little more that you can look, probably, that you may be overseen, or maybe you don't realize how good you have it, because it always takes like a death or an accident or something to really like put people in check. And it's like, why does it take that when you can't just be, you know, realizing every day that like, you know, I'm able to walk outside and see the sun or whatever it may be. You know, it's like a lot of times we forget about that, and it always takes some big wake up call. You know, Gwen, you had a question?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I was thinking like, how is it being a beginner, you know, now versus being a beginner when you were a kid? Because I'm just thinking, in that like really cool documentary, The Longest Wave, that everybody should go and watch. You were with Robbie and you guys were chasing the longest wave, and in the documentary it touches on on Robbie being a beginner at foiling, and he's the, I don't know, 24-time world champion in windsurfing, and there is that, like, how do you feel being a beginner in front of everybody when you have maybe that like expectation to be one of the best rider in the world? And I feel like that kind of like ties to like your ego, and how do you let that go? How do you deal with being a beginner now,
That's a
like winging, for example?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good thing. I mean, and to watch, like, I go through it a lot, but to watch like a mentor like Robbie Nash, I've known for a long time, and when I was growing up, my mom was windsurfing in the races with him, and I would meet him, I'd be looking, oh my God, dude, and I'd get a autograph, and he was super nice, and then I would never have figured that I'd be riding for him and going on trips. So, but anyway, that being said, going on that trip and watching him, I mean, his company, he is truly passionate about everything water, and his business sense is on point. So we were all testing foils and making stuff happen, and Kai Lenny was really driving it, and we were all getting into it and really enjoyed the new intro of something that we're stoked on to add to kiting and all the different things we did. And so we were just loving it, and the learning process, we were kind of all learning kind of together, but obviously there's others that were so much better, like Kai and the young kids and whatever, really charging. So I kind of just I had to kind of almost go by myself and go on the bad days, at Kanaha, where it's, and just take my beatings, because I truly didn't want to be in front of a lot of people that would look up to you and go, whoa, dude, that guy's a Barney, you can't even, did you see him just eat it on that, and so there is that ego that we have that, and I look at Robbie. So when we were out there, he was putting his time in, but he would secretively do his own little thing. And he didn't want to be out there because, it's like Laird Hamilton, same thing. It's like, you've done something so magnificent, that's amazing, that everybody just looks at, and praises you. And then suddenly you go to do something different that you're not so good at yet, or whatever, and then we have that fear of that our crown is suddenly gonna come crashing down because we're human. And that's, I think, a big thing, is like, we are human. And I think as I get older, it actually made more sense, where I could still go to those young kids that are so good, and and go, dude, when you're my age, you will wish you can do all the things that I've done, and that for me is like going, hey, just, keep a great head on your shoulders and just go for it. And I think that's a big lesson, that's a hard one to learn, is to not be good in eyes of athletes or people that kind of, really that you've inspired one way, and then, and then suddenly you're a beginner. So for me, I've learned more and more that it's okay, because I kind of relate more to people to make these mistakes. And oh my God, like I love nothing more to throw up either a video of me eating shit, like going town on either a bad air, in the snow, and just packing it from 70 feet, or dropping in on a big wave and having the whole thing just annihilate me. Because it happens to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're Kai Lenny, Laird Hamilton, Robbie, anybody. It's going to happen, and that's part of the process. So I think it's for a lot of people, it's a little bit different, and it's always a life lesson, is like, all right, it truly humbles you. And I think for me, it's been a great thing. And here I am with winging. I'm around so many of you guys that are so good. I don't get to do it every day. And so that's something I also have to kind of check myself and go, how can you be so hard on yourself? Because you don't live at the beach like you normally do, and you don't have the conditions to go and rip like the pros, or like when I lived in Maui and I could do it all. You take it for granted, and it's like, oh dude, yeah, I learned that trick in, one day. And now it's a lot harder. But I think if you truly love it, you kind of throw a blind eye to what people think, because at the end of the day, it's what you want to do. It's not, you're not riding for them. You're riding for yourself, and what makes you happy, go for it. And when you eat it, and you have to get back on the board and, put your head back up and go, all right, I got this one more time, I think that's what it's all about. But it's a hard thing, like Robbie having to do that and then having to be transparent to everybody, out there. Like there was a part of him that didn't like foiling because he didn't quite slide right into it like he did all the other sports. He had to work at it. And then suddenly when the green light went off, his smile got so big and he suddenly was like, I'm in tune now. I got it. I see the light. I'm stoked. And it was really neat to see that in that film because you kind of just got to see, like, you know what? He's as human as all of us. And I think that's the neat thing, to not think that you're so much better than anybody. It's like I learn a lot from so many other people. None of us are going to be the best at anything. And even if you do that, there's always going to be someone better. So you might as well enjoy it and kind of laugh at yourself, because if you're thinking about what people think all the time, then suddenly you're not going to have fun. And I'd rather just be an idiot and be laughing. And then suddenly those guys can't even give you a hard time because you're having a great time. So,
yeah. Amen. And I think you said this is best, but there's no time like the present. And I think that's how you truly live in life. You just enjoy every moment along the way. And I think, that's a good thing to look back on, is to say, look, we're all human. We're all going to learn stuff. We're all going to struggle at stuff. It may be easier for you to learn your ABCs and another guy to learn whatever, but everybody has their process. So enjoy the ride and enjoy the learning process. And, I think that's what life's about. And, so we always end these shows with, like, obviously you shared a wonderful message to everybody out there. And we're super grateful. Chuck, you are a true inspiration to so many. You shine a light that, I wish everybody could meet you. And I would go out on, everybody listening here. I'd say, look, if you ever see Chuck Patterson and you want to go talk to him, just go talk to him, because, like, he will literally be the nicest guy versus, I think I remember when I first saw you, I was like, I don't know, dude, he's like going to headlock me and like pop my head off or something. Jacked, but you were like the gentle giant that was like the nicest guy ever. And it's truly that. And I can't thank you more for what you shared with me in our previous, history and in all our adventures that we've done. And then, so ending on this note, if you were to, I guess, leave a message with somebody out there that's listening in, and, whatever they're going through in life, what would be something that, you definitely tapped on, making sure to live and be present, and you're going to learn along the way, and not every decision's the right one, but if you look at it positive, you'll guide into something. But is there something that really stands out that's helped you in life that you could share with somebody?
I mean, for me, I think don't be afraid to chase what you truly love, and there's a lot that goes along with it, but you learn so much in life chasing what you love. And I think you really end up enjoying that process. And there's a lot of highs and lows, but I think for me, it really kind of paved the way of, like, chase your dreams no matter what. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do anything. And for me, having people kind of say, hey, that's not the right way to do it. I think nowadays, go for it, and so if you truly love something, or you want to do something that you've always dreamed about, go for it. Life is short. Surround yourself with people that make you happy, and that push you and challenge you, and you're truly going to have a super rich, stoked life no matter what you do.
Boom. Cut. Oh man, I totally agree. I think, you've shined bright, man. I mean it. And it's, we're sitting here on a YouTube thing that I don't know anything about YouTube, obviously, and we're just trying this. But what we're trying to do is share these messages that we all live. We all know it's all the same thing. We all go through it. We all struggle. We all have ups and downs. And I think, the more we can share that people are real and everybody goes through the same struggles, hopefully it can open the door for somebody who's maybe in a struggle. They could maybe go live their best life, or maybe help somebody else. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, not to keep rambling, but like right now, there's so much depression out there with what's going on. And so I think for those of us, all you guys and athletes in general and just people out there, I think it's really kind of, we have a duty to kind of just help people, to be there, and whether it's with, I mean, we're very fortunate to have sports kind of be our outlet, but that to me is kind of like along the way with all the things we do. And it's great to not forget that not everybody shares the life that we do. So, do your part to kind of try to put a smile on someone's face or help them out, do something different to where at the end of the day, they feel, loved and they're stoked, because there's just so much going on that's really challenging. And I think we're really stoked on the sports stuff that we do. And we're very fortunate, but like you said, let's inspire people and continue the fun zone of travel,
Well said. Gwen, you got anything to add?
I mean, that's it. Like this is what we do. Our mission is to help people live their best life, and there is no
There's no rule
right
book yet.
there is
Yeah.
no right way to do it. It's each of us to figure this out. And there is not, even for like each of us, there is just not one way that's the right way, and that way is not always going to be the same throughout your life. So don't be scared of chasing what you truly believe in, want right now, and that might change. And there is no shame in changing. And like, I don't know, you want to be the best like skier, and then 10 years later you want to be the best surfer. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like whatever, like nobody, it's all about you. Do you, be you, and that's the best way to live.
Maybe an ice skater. It's okay. whatever it is.
We won't judge you, Chuck. You can say it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's the neat thing about just doing something totally different and putting yourself out in the unknown is just, where is it going to go from here? But I mean, one thing I do have to say, just truly grateful to, people like you, sponsors, people that have done so much for myself. And my girl's like, what? But no, truly grateful for those people that have allowed us to do the things we do. And it's nice to be able to pass that on to other people. So yeah, like you said, it's like, let's just have fun with it. Don't worry about controlling the things that we can't control or what people think. Go for it, because you will get the most out of life that way.
Amen. Well, on that note, Chuck, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing some insight to, all the viewers out there. And for everybody out there, look, we hope you have a wonderful Monday, a wonderful Thanksgiving with your families. True time to be present, even if you haven't maybe seen your family or your dad or your mom or your brother or your sister or whoever it is. Maybe that you haven't spoken to them in years. It's maybe the time to do it. And I would say there is no time there's no reason to wait, whether it's a grudge or who knows what, like Chuck said in this interview, is, you don't know when your time's up, and you should live in the moment. So make sure to be present. Don't ever, leave in a grudge or whatever, but enjoy your Thanksgivings, enjoy your family time, and, like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. Hopefully we can have more amazing people like Chuck Patterson. I mean, to even have Chuck on, we're just like, holy geez, this is insane. So we're super
I'm
stoked.
honored, dude. Very honored.
And make sure to follow him. We're going to put a bunch of links in. You're going to watch this video. The Longest Wave, is that what it's called?
Yeah, The Longest Wave. Yeah.
It's just awesome. You get to see a little insight into just the true amazing human Chuck is, and also all the things he does, his website and stuff. Take a look at him riding Jaws on water skis. That was like cool. And among a million other things I could go on. But on that note, everybody have a wonderful week. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We appreciate you. We love you. We can't thank you more. And thank you, Chuck, and to all the viewers out there. We really appreciate you. Until next week, we got special human. Don't know who it is, but we'll let you know when that time comes.
Yeah,
What?
and now we're gonna go into the Patreon post show with Chuck. And if you want to join us, make sure to go in the link below, sign up for our Patreon For as little as $5 a month, you support what we do, so we can do more of it. And you get early access to our videos, and you get access to our private Patreon only post show with our guest, which is going to happen right now. If you are listening to the podcast, leave a review if you like it. It helps boost our podcast. And thank you so much, Chuck. That was amazing.
awesome.
Like I said at the beginning,
Thank
I
you,
knew
guys.
it would be. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Love
Thank
it.
you
Thank you
guys.
so much,
Happy
Chuck.
holidays.
Yeah.